Hello, everybody. Hello, welcome to Thursday, July the 23rd. So great to see everybody. Hello, everybody. Glad I had a minute to sit and chat with everybody before the live started. So great to see you. Hello, everybody. Come on in and get situated. I'm going to give it just a minute before we actually jump into the good stuff. Right? Let everybody get notified that we're live. Give them a chance to come on in and get situated. Hello, everybody. So today we are making the Dresden Plate block. Y'all, this Dresden Plate is going to have 20 blades. There are hundreds of variations of the Dresden Plate. So for some of you, this might be the first time you're making one. And for some of you who have been quilting for a long time, you may have already done the Dresden Plate, right? But yes, so many different variations. I encourage you to go on the Googles and do a search of the Dresden Plate block because there's so many pretty ones out there. So many different variations with numbers of blades, the shapes of the blades, all kinds of stuff out there. It's so great to see you. So, I just drew a blank. Yes. If you are watching this video for the very first time, hello. If you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification, you'll get notified when I post new videos. I love doing t-shirt quilts, patchwork quilts, art quilts, all kinds of stuff like that. And I love making journals. I have playlists for all kinds of different stuff. And yes, if you hit the bell notification, you'll get notified when I post a new video or when I go live. If you're watching this video on the replay, y'all, we are starting from the very, very beginning. I have not done anything. I've just prepared all the things that it's going to take to make this Dresden block. I did post a video the other day that shows you all the stuff you need to gather, but you'll see that in today's video too. And yeah, if you're watching on the replay, this is a live video. I'm going to put some timestamps down in the description box. Y'all, did you know you can open up the description box and if the video creator has put timestamps in there, they're blue and you can click on them and they bring you right to that point in the video. Pretty awesome, right? I love that feature about YouTube. So yeah, we're going to start at the very beginning until the very end when we have a completed Dresden Plate block. There is a free pattern in the description box as well if you want to jump down there and grab that. It's a one-page PDF. I'm going to show you that here in just a second, but it's in my Dropbox. You can jump over there and print this out, which comes in really handy if you don't have a Dresden Plate ruler like me. I don't have one. So I'm going to give you the template that you can cut out and use to make this block. Hello, everybody. Oh, it's so great to see you. But yeah, if you're watching on the replay and you don't want to stick through the whole chat and conversation and you want to jump around to the good stuff, jump down to the description box. When this video is posted, I'll go through and update it and post stopping points that you can jump around to. So I'm going to tell you I love these lives because I get to have conversation. So that kind of makes the video a little bit longer, but I'm good with that because I get to hang out with my quilting family all over the world. Y'all are all over the place. So great to see you. So great to see you. So let me go ahead and switch the screen. I'm going to show you the PDF. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Cutting mats. Here we go. All right. Just a heads up. Everything that has writing on my cutting mat is going to be mirror imaged. I know that's annoying. But when I'm working today, I really want you to have the view that I have looking at the pieces. So the words are going to be mirror imaged. Just so you know, it's not your eyes playing tricks on you. It is mirror imaged. Oh, Creative Trish, you made your son-in-law a t-shirt quilt. That is awesome. And I love that you said that it came out awesome. Good for you. I'm so happy for you. So this is the one-page PDF, y'all. It has the template that we're using today. I want you to go ahead and cut out your template just like this, right on the line. Your template should measure 2.5 inches wide from the left to the right. And down at the bottom, this little space here is 1 inch. The blade itself is 5 inches tall. All right, so I want you to cut that out on the line just like this. And then I also want you to jump down and cut out your circle right on the line, just like this. And put that to the side because we're going to come to this when we get to this part in the block. Then I want you to note there's a little diagram. This is how we're going to make our blades, and then how we're going to assemble our blades. And then there's 2 boxes on this PDF. The top one are all the things, all the charms that we're going to use to make one block. And then I did the math. If you want to put together a lap size quilt and all the blocks have a Dresden plate on them, then this is the number of charms that you need. So this is the 1-page PDF, and it's down in the description box. It's so great to see everybody. Yes, all over the world. France, the UK. Wow, it's so great to see y'all. So today I am using charm packs, okay? I'm using charm packs. Charm packs, primarily, most of them, are 5-inch blocks, okay? This is a fabric square. It came in a stack of 5.5 or 5-inch by 5-inch squares, and they were all color coordinated. My friend Sally sent me a bunch of charm packs. When we did the traditional quilt block series live here on YouTube, so many of you asked, can we do a quilt block using charm squares? That's one of the reasons why I'm using charm squares for this block. You don't have to run out and buy charm packs for this. If you have fabric and you cut your blocks 5 inches by 5 inches, it's the same thing. You can also cut strips of fabric that are 5 inches tall and cut your blades from that too. So you don't have to start out this way, but I'm using charms because that's what I have on hand, and because so many people asked, what's a block we can do with charm squares? Okay, so that's what I'm using. I'm using charm squares. Let's see, what else do you need to run and grab before we get to this part? I have a thin piece of cardboard, and this was actually the bottom piece of this charm pack, right? You'll need a thin piece of cardboard to cut out your center circle. You can grab a cereal box and cut it from that too as well, or a macaroni and cheese box, I like to say. Macaroni and cheese, I love it. But so yes, you'll need to run and grab one of those, just a thin piece of cardboard that you can easily cut, okay? Go run and do that if you haven't gathered that yet. Then you need all your normal sewing notions, right? Your rotary cutter, a ruler. How many packs for a lap quilt? Connie wants to know. Let's see, for a lap quilt, you need 400 charms, and I think like 40 charms, 40 or 50 come in a pack. It might vary depending on who put together the charm pack, right? So yeah, that's a lot of packs. You'll see right behind me, over my shoulder, you can see I've already started putting together a quilt, and I did not have 400 charms that all went together. So I did a slight variation, okay? I did a Dresden plate every other block, and then a 9-patch to fill in these spaces, right? So I did a variation which did not require 400 charms because I didn't have that many that looked good together. So if you take 400 charms and you divide it by however many charms come in the packs, that will give you how many packs you need, right? Am I doing the math right? But you need 400 5-inch squares, just like this, 400 of them, if you want to put a Dresden plate on every single block. All right, y'all, we're ready to jump in. We're ready to jump in. Oh, and just a side note, you don't have to put together a 9-patch for the base of your block that the Dresden plate sits on. If you want to use a solid piece of fabric, you absolutely could. If you want to cut a solid piece for the background of your block, 13.5 or 14.5 inches works really great. So that would also reduce the number of charms you need, right? So if you want to save your charms for the actual Dresden plates, the plates themselves, and use solid pieces of fabric for your background, that would reduce the number of charms you need. Okay, y'all, we have a lot to do. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. So for our blades, let's start there. I have 10 5-inch squares right here. This is going to be the actual plate, my Dresden plate. I have 20. We're going to grab our template, and I like using a chalk marker to mark the shape of my template onto my fabrics. If you're using a light fabric, you could use a pencil or a pen or a marker. All of your markings are going to go in the seam allowance, and so it's okay. But I like to mark my template onto my fabric, and I'm going to tell you why. You could just place it here and start cutting, right? You could take your ruler and line it up right next to your blade and start cutting. When I do that, I accidentally cut little slivers off of my plate. And if you do that over and over and over again, your template gets smaller and smaller and smaller the more you do, right? The more you cut out. So to avoid that from happening, I just go ahead and mark the shape of my blades right onto my fabric, okay? And that just guarantees me that I'm not going to end up with smaller blades down the road because I keep shaving off my template. So I want you to grab something and start marking the shape of your blade right onto your fabric. And with a 5-inch square, your blade should touch the edge at the top and the bottom. And that's going to just take me a second. Y'all, I'm doing every step with you. So you can see there's the shape of my first blade. And then I'm going to turn the template over, and I'm going to line it up right on that line that I just drew, and I'm going to draw the next line. I'm going to get 2 blades out of 1 charm. That's why we only need 10. So there's my shapes for 2. I'm going to do that on a couple pieces of fabric, and then I'll actually layer them, so I'll be cutting more than one at a time, just to save some time. So how have y'all been? Just to let y'all know, we're not going to be live next week. We leave for Indiana tomorrow, and my mom's having surgery in Indiana, so we're going there to be with her. And we actually will get home sometime next Thursday, so that means no live video next week. That's the only stinker about us going to Indiana, is that I will miss you all next week. Connie said, yep, I got slivers. Yeah, every time I would use my actual template, I noticed that it got smaller and smaller and smaller. And if you do it too much, if you keep repeating that, your actual fabric blade gets smaller and smaller, and then you're going to have a hard time getting your Dresden to lay nice and flat when you're sewing them together, right? Because they all won't be the same size. We're going to be using a 1/4-inch seam to sew our blades together. 1/4 inch. Just going to mark this one, just like that. Would it save time to fold the charm in half and draw one? It might, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here in just a second. And so, you know, everybody's brain works differently. If you come up with a different technique that works better and faster for you, by all means, do it that way. I'm just going to show you the way that works best for me. And I'm only really marking 4 pieces of fabric. And then we're going to layer them and cut these out. So it does go by pretty quick. Now if you have one of those handy Dresden Plate rulers, the acrylic clear Dresden Plate rulers, then you don't have to do this, right? I don't have one of those. I need to get one. Thank you for praying for my mom. Thank you so much. We're excited for her surgery. We really are. All right, so I've marked 4 of my charms, okay, and I'm just going to layer them. The most I really like to layer them is 3 squares high, because after that I start losing control of my blade when I'm cutting. So now I have 3 charms stacked one on top of the other. And we're going to start cutting. We're going to cut directly on the line that we just drew. Just like that. So there's our first cut. I'm saving all these little slivers because I have a friend, Connie, who loves them. And I'm putting them in a box for her. So even though there's a little bit of waste with our charms, they will not be wasted. They're going to good use. Spinning it around, I just cut the other side. And now we can cut these blades apart just like this. So there we go. We have 6 blades cut out. Let's layer some more. Vicki, it is okay. My mom has essential trimmers. It runs in our family. I have essential trimmers. When you see my hand shaking, that's what that is. So she's on medication for hers. And we are going to Indiana because they specialize in deep brain stimulation. And so she's going to get the total use of the right side of her body with no trimmers. And so we are just so excited because she'll be able to do her crafts again. She loves to make cards. She'll be able to, she's been wanting to learn how to play the piano. So she will be able to do that. And yes, we are so excited. It's a good surgery. It's a good surgery. I probably need a new blade in my cutter. I've been cutting out t-shirt quilt blocks for my next quilt. I think it dulled my blade a little bit. Here's 6 more blades. Are you cutting off the chalk line or cutting down the center? Susan, I'm trying my best to, let's see. I only have 4 more left to do. I'll do 2 layers. I'm trying my best to get it in the center of the chalk line. Okay, the chalk line is a little bit wider than if you use a pencil or like a ballpoint pen. Those lines are really thin and then cut directly on the line. Because of the chalk, you know, it's kind of stubby, right? And it doesn't give a really thin line. I'm just trying to cut right down the center. So just trimming, and cutting. There's 4 more, and we have 4 left. So 2 more pieces of fabric, one on top of the other, and we're trimming. Dun, 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 dun. I've been really excited about this video for a week now. All right, these are our last 2 blades. So now at this point, we should have 20 blades for our Dresden. So there's those. These little tidbits get saved in a box for Miss Connie. And you know what? We're done with this, and we're done with our rotary cutter. That's all we needed to use those for. I'm going to give everybody a second. So if you're sewing with me live, you can cut out your blades. Okay? That's also the last time you need this, unless you're making several blocks, right? If you're going to make a whole quilt with them, keep this. That's your template. So great to see everybody. So great to see you. Just going to scroll through the comments just to let y'all know, if you have a question for me, if you type it in all caps, it makes it really easy. So when I scroll through, it catches my eye. And y'all help me out. If y'all see someone ask a question and I don't get to it because I'm trying to focus and you know the answer, you can type it out. That would be so helpful. Dun, dun, dun. It's so great to see y'all. It's so great to see you. Oh, Debbie says she cuts 5 at a time. Whoa. See, with my hand shaking so much, I have better control with 3 layers of fabric. I wish I could do 5 at a time, but my luck, I'd slip with the ruler. The ruler would slide, and I would mess up 5 pieces of fabric because I'd mess up. I have good control with 3 layers. I wish I could do 5. Ooh, Pat's done some work ahead of time. I know several people have done some pre-work with this because I actually posted the pattern last week. So yeah, many of you have done some work ahead of time. How can I contact you regarding making a t-shirt quilt for me? If you drop down into the description box, I have all my contact information, so probably Facebook or Etsy. If you jump over to my Etsy shop, you can send me a message right through Etsy. I love that. So if you don't do Facebook, go over to Etsy, go to my Etsy shop. The link's down below. Oh, goodness. And yeah, you can just send me a message. Just to let you know, I am booking into next March, which gives you some time to get some stuff together, but yeah, it's a little bit of a wait. Y'all give me a second. I have somebody who I need to take care of real quick, and I don't see that we have any moderators. So let me jump over here. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. Okay. There we go. Hopefully that took care of that for a minute. The finished block size. Okay, so the finished block size, I'm putting together a 9 patch, and we'll get to that as soon as we're done with putting together our plate. The 9 patch is made of 5-inch blocks. When I put them together, it actually measured 13.5 by 13.5. I kind of like the 14.5 by 14.5 inch block size. So if you cut fabric for a solid piece, that's what I would cut it at. And that's what I put on the PDF. But if you're using charms and making a 9 patch like I'm going to do in this video, it actually finishes at 13.5 by 13.5. When you sew together your quilt, the block size will be 13 by 13. All right, y'all. Did I give enough time to cut out all your blades? Here's what we're doing next. I want you to take all your blades. Amy said the hardest part of this will be making my center circle small enough. Is there a trick to this? Sewing the blades together. Well, Miss Amy, I do have a trick to give you a finished edge to your circle. So I hope you can stick around, and if you have to leave, come back and watch on the replay. But yeah, I'm going to walk you through it. So hopefully that'll be helpful. All right, I'm just going to start separating my blades by color because I want them to be evenly distributed through my block, right? So I have some green ones. I have some, what is that, like maroon? Maroon colored ones. Green, black. Green, black, green. I'm just going to go through and sort them out by color. Black, black, and there we go. So the charms that I'm using for my blades basically consist of 3 basic colors, and then within them there's different shades, right? So once you've done that, I want you to think that when you put this blade together, you're going to have 4 sections at the end. So I want you to divide your 20 blades into 4 sections, and I'm just going to show you how I'm going to do it. 4 blades. So let's do a green one, a green one, a green one, and a green one. Thank you so much, Valera. Thank you so much. I'm just equally dividing these colors into 4 sections, okay? Just like this. This one gets a black one. This one gets a black one. 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 Ooh, we have an extra green one. There we go. Each one of your 4 sections will have 5 blades. I'm trying to do it so it all fits in the in the camera. There we go. Oh, that would be great. Yes, if you could help me. Dazzleen, yes, let me switch over and assign you moderator. If you could help, that would be so terrific. Add as moderator. Thank you so much. We've had one issue. Oh, and Diane57 is here, so she can help too. Thank you so much, Diane. Yeah, trying to keep an eye on the chat and focus on what I'm doing all at the same time. It's like, I can't even right now. Okay, can y'all see my 5 sections? I'm just going to arrange them. Oh, let's do it like this. There we go. I'm going to try to put my 5 sections so that no 2 colors are the same, but if it happens, it happens, right? They're all different. So that's pretty evenly spread out. There we go. I want you to lay out groups of 4, and each one of your group is going to have 5 blades. Hello, Miss Sherry. Yeah, I totally get it. I know you're working. And I just want to let y'all know, one of the reasons why I love doing the lives is because we all get together and we can have conversation. I hope you take advantage of having the live chat and having conversation with other like-minded quilters out there. Take advantage of it. A lot of us are going without a lot of interaction like we're used to, right? So now's a good time to chat with friends. Yes, these colors are so pretty together. They're so pretty. At this point, once you get all of this laid out, I want you to jump over to your sewing machine. You're going to be using a straight stitch on your sewing machine. I want you to set up a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And here's a tip when you're doing these Dresden blades. I want you to lower your stitch length. When I turn on my machine and I have a Juki Exceed HZL F600. When I set my 1/4 inch seam allowance, by default, my stitch length is at a 2.0. I know all the sewing machines are different. Whatever you usually use for your stitch length to piece together patchwork, whatever that number is, I want you to drop it by 1. I want your stitches a little bit closer together for working with your blades, okay? So I just knock mine down to 1.8. That's just 1 notch down. Hazel, it is Moda. Sally sent me some Moda charm packs. So knock your stitch length down 1 notch. Just a little bit shorter. Y'all, we cut our blades out on a bias, so they tend to be a little stretchy, right? The shorter stitch length will help it keep from being so stretchy in the end. So get that all set up. All right, 1/4 inch. Knocked down my stitch length. We're ready to do some sewing. I'm going to take a sip of water and give y'all a second to finish laying out your blades. And I'm trying to really take my time because I have a tendency to rush through the stages. And I want you to keep up if you can. I might get ahead of you a little bit. But that's the beauty of doing the videos on YouTube, right? You can always come back to the replay and pause it. Cheryl, yes, thank God no blockage. That is good news. Oh my goodness. Debbie, yes, that's one of the beauties about working with pre-cuts, right? They've done all the hard work for you, and color cord, everything goes together, and it's so pretty, and you don't have to try pulling bolts of fabric and trying to match up a whole bunch of different fabrics together. And then, have you ever tried to pull a full cart stacked with bolts up to the cutting table at the fabric shop and hoping they don't all tumble down on your way to get it cut? There's none of that with pre-cuts. Mimsy, you just got done cutting. All right, I'm going to give you a second so you can lay out your blades. I'm going to give you a second so you can do that. You want 4 groups, and in each one of your groups, you're going to have 5 blades. Dun, 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 dun. Can y'all hear me okay? I adjusted the microphone and made it louder. So I'm hoping that this video is actually louder than my last ones. I know, I'm hoping, oh, Connie, I know. I have so much to do to get ready to leave in the morning, but I'm hoping I'm done by 8 o'clock so I can watch her video. She did so good last night, y'all. She went live on Creative Crew Group, and she's going to be showing quilt as you go methods. She's doing 2 videos on Creative Crew Group, and I'm hoping that I get done by 8 o'clock, but if not, I'll catch her on the replay. Oh, good. You can hear me good. I had to go into the settings and everything to figure out how to make the microphone louder. All right, Miss Mimsy, I'm going to go ahead and start, okay? Don't rush. I don't want you to rush through, but I am going to go ahead and start with the next step. We have our 4 groups of 5. In each group, we have 5 blades. I want you to take the second blade and turn it right side up on the first blade. We're going to be doing it. Oh, nope. I should have watched my notes. We're not ready to do that yet. We did all this for nothing. We're going to redo this. We're going to redo this. Mimsy, stop organizing your blades. I want you to pick them all back up. Y'all, this is why I make notes. Why am I not referring to my notes? We're taking all blades right to the sewing machine. We'll have to relay them out. Fortunately, it doesn't take that long to do it. Y'all, if y'all want the perfect tutorials, I'm so sorry. I'm going to be such a huge disappointment. Here's all of our 20 blades. We're going straight over to the sewing machine. Still with a 1/4 inch, still with a straight stitch, and still with your straight stitch length lowered by 1 notch. Okay? I'm sorry. I need to focus. We're going to come over to the sewing machine. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to take our blades pretty side facing up. I know the lighting over here is not that great. Pretty sides facing up. Let me show you what that looks like. Pretty side facing up. We're going to fold it in half just like this. And I want you to match up that raw edge just like this. We're going to be sewing the widest part, not the smallest part. We're going to be sewing a 1/4 inch along this raw edge right up here. For each one of our 20 blades, we're going to just fold that pretty sides together and sewing right here with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to chain piece mine so it's going to go pretty quickly, okay? 1/4 inch away from the raw edge. Amy said, that's why I love you. I make so many goof ups, y'all, but it is what it is. All right. Let me switch back to the sewing machine. Here we go. We're going to chain piece and fold all of our Dresdens in half and sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Whoopsies. So there's my first one. I have my whole stack right here on my table. You might not be able to see that. I'm just bringing each one over, folding it in half, and sewing my seam. I go through all of this stuff, y'all. I make notes to keep me focused and help me not mess up, and then I don't even look at my notes. So just chain piecing each one of them. Sewing along, sewing along. We did, it was sort of like an exclusive Zoom meeting yesterday over in the Creative Crew group about Inkscape. Y'all, I love Inkscape. That's what I use to design my patterns and plan out my t-shirt quilts. That was fun. I showed some of the possibilities with Inkscape, how you could use it in your studio for all different kinds of crafts. So you're just going to repeat this process through each one of your 20 blades. Y'all, it is so hot. It is so hot here in Virginia. What is the weather like where you are? I'm going to tell you, I don't even want to go outside. Night before last, we had a thunderstorm, y'all. I'm pretty sure something very close to our house got hit by lightning. The power went on and off several times. Ooh, we're getting down to the bottom. Just a few more left to do. One, two, three. This is my last one, y'all. So there we go. There's 20 blades with a 1/4 inch seam up at the top. Ooh, that's so pretty. That's so pretty. Let me switch back over. So this is what it looks like when you've repeated that process for all 20 blades, just like that. I'm going to sit here and cut them apart. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I'm pretty sure something very close behind us got hit by lightning. Once you remove this great big strand of blades from your sewing machine, you're going to cut the little connecting thread between all of them. Just snip the thread that connects them. Snip, snip, snip. I can't believe we totally skipped this part. Oh, goodness. Snip, snip, and snip. I'm going to give y'all a second to finish sewing your blades. Are you near Richmond? Yep, Richmond is about 35 minutes north of me. Not that far. Our little blades, all different colors. I saw a red, white, and blue Dresden Plate the other day. It was so pretty. It was all red, white, and blue. Hello, Miss Pamela. So great to see everybody. So great to see you. Connie has me up on her big TV screen. That's always funny to hear that. Just to let you know, Connie, I have more little scraps I'm adding to your box. More little scraps. I'm almost ready to send that out too, probably when we get back in a week. Mary, your brother lives in Prince George. Really? It's such a small world, isn't it? Such a small world. Vicky usually has me on the big screen TV too, but then she can't type. Yeah, that's Connie can't type, so she sends me little messages. I get them pop up on the side, so she can't type using her TV. Aw, Cheryl, you're welcome. You're welcome. When you type them in all caps, it makes it really easy for me to catch them. So if you have questions, type them in all caps. But y'all, if y'all are reading through and see someone ask a question and you know the answers, go ahead and let them know what the answer is, because sometimes I miss stuff, y'all, and I feel really bad. When I go back on the replay, I see that, there's times when I miss someone's question. It's so hard to keep track of everything when you're doing the video. And then I feel really bad. I'm like, oh no, I missed somebody. Susan, I'm not sure what's happening. Maybe close down YouTube altogether and then reopen it back up and come back to the video. Sometimes that works to help free up the chat if you're having problems with the chat. All right, once you have all of your little blades cut apart, they look so cute like this, right? I'm going to show you what I like to do, and I know a lot of people don't do this, but we're going to be flipping these right side out, and then this is going to form a little point at the top. It's going to look like a tie, right? To help keep a lot of bulk in the tip of my Dresdens, I like to go through and snip the little corner. If you do this, I want you to be really careful because you don't want to cut into your stitches that you just did with your 1/4 inch seam allowance. But I just like to snip off the little corner just like this to reduce some bulk in the very tip of my blade. So I'm going to try to hold that up so you can see. I know it's going to be a little bit blurry because it's not focused for close-ups, but it just is above that stitch line. I'm going to go through and do that for each one of my 20. Again, you don't have to do this. It's just something I like to do. So I'm just going to snip that little smidgen right off of that edge right there. Snip, snip. Which corner? Okay, Mimsy, you have the open blade like this, and then you have the closed edge. We're cutting it off of the closed edge, okay? That's the corner that you're going to snip, not the open, but the side that's closed or folded over. Snip. Again, you don't have to do this. You don't have to. But I think it just reduces a little bit of bulk right in the tip. And it helps my points be nice and pretty and pokey. Pokey tips, right? Snip. Snip. And this goes by pretty quick, unless you're doing 20 Dresden plates and then you have, what, like 100 of these to do? snip, and our last one, snip. So when you're done, you just have a little pile of smidgens just like this, right? Dun, dun, dun. We're done with that. I'm going to give y'all a second to catch up. I am going to bring my iron over and wake that back up because she's sleeping. It's time to go to work. Let's get you heating up. Wake up your irons because you're going to need them here in just a few minutes. We've snipped off the little corner of each one of our blades. Just want to thank y'all for hanging out with me on this Thursday. It's so great to see everybody. So great to see you. Even if you're not making the Dresden Plate and you never want to make the Dresden Plate, just hanging out with everybody is a blessing. So thank you so much. There she goes. I heard her kick on. All right, warm up. Do your job. Do your job. Once you've snipped off the little corner, you're going to have this seam. Ideally, I like to open up the seams on my Dresden plates, but that's going to take forever, okay? Ideally, I like to open up my seam, and then I stick my thumb into the little pocket inside, and I kind of do a finger press, just like this. Kind of open up that seam a little bit, just like that. And then I'm going to flip this blade right side out, just like that. We're going to have the little pokey just like that. And you can take a pencil or an awl, something that's not going to poke through the fabric and your seam. But if you need to just poke out the little bitty tip of your blade, you can do that at this point. Isn't that pretty? Nice and pokey, right? So now we're going to go ahead and do that for each one of our Dresdens. I'm just going to open up that seam, pinch it just a little bit, flip it, and poke out the little pokey tip just like that. And you're just going to repeat that process all the way through. Now I have a confession, y'all. I have a confession. This is a little time consuming, opening up that seam, right? Sometimes, like with the blades you see on the design wall behind me, sometimes I skip that part, and to be really honest, I don't see much difference. So if you don't want to open up that seam, if you just want to take it and flip it, and your seam, when you press your blade, goes to one side or the other, that is okay. I don't see where it makes much difference in the final block, but that's just me, y'all. You know me and quilting rules. I don't usually see a great big difference in the bulk of my blade having that seam open or having it pressed to one side when it presses, right? But if you're someone who loves the open seams, by all means, take the time to open up that seam before you flip it right side out. Isn't that pretty? Patricia says, wish I knew how to put you on my TV. I know that when I watch videos on my cell phone, sometimes up in the right-hand corner, there's this little box, and it casts videos to my TV. Penny, come back on the replay. Thanks for hanging out with us before your appointment. I'm glad I got to see you. Jeannie said, I was lazy and didn't open mine up. Yeah, most of the time I don't open. Most of the time I don't open them. But I want to show that just in case someone does want to open up those seams they can do that. We're all different, right? We're all different. Just going through, flipping and poking. Thank you, Penny. Thank you. Me too, me too. I am so excited for her, y'all. I am so excited. Pokey, pokey, pokey. Just make sure you don't poke through the very tip with your pokey tool, right? I don't know that it would be the end of the world if you did, but try to avoid poking all the way through that seam. Oh, Barbara put me on the big screen. Pokey, pokey, pokey. We have 3 more left to do. Three more, 2 more left to do. Poke. And this is the last one. There we go. All of our blades are flipped right side out, and the little tips at the top center have been poked out. Now we're going to go back and repeat the first part of the process that we did, right? I'm going to sort these out by colors so that I can equally distribute them between my 4 groups. Again. We're doing this again. Aren't they cute at this little stage, the little pokies? They're so cute. Black, black, green. All right, here's my colors. And now I'm just going to start sorting them back through. Oh, not yet, Lisa, not yet. Oh, yeah, no, let's go ahead and do it. Let's do it. We have to press them still, but I'll press them. I'll press them with them sorted. How about that? They do look like little houses. I'm on the big screen. That's so funny. So each one of my 4 sections will have 2 greens. And let's put the reds in there. Red, red, black, black. Each one of your groups of 4 will have 5 blades, just like this. And then I want to separate the light colors, so we'll swap just like that. And this just kind of ensures that I equally divide up my colors throughout the Dresden. I don't like those 2 the same. I'm going to swap those just like that. Just like that. There we go. I think that looks good. They do look like little houses, like little townhouses. Diane says they look like little coffins. They do. Now that you say that. They do look like little coffins. Are you still warm? Yes, you are. Now that I've divided them equally into 4 groups, I'm going to go ahead and press my little plates, right? We want them to be nice and flat before we start sewing them together. I'm just going to move my pressing board over a little bit so you can see. When we press them, I'm going to lay the pretty side down and I'm going to pay attention to this middle seam on the back. I want that to be right in the center so that my blade has a pretty little uniform shape, right? So I'm just going to make sure that that seam, whether it's open or to one side to the other, you want that seam to be running straight through the middle, not to one side like this or to the other side like this. You want that seam to be right in the middle, and then you're going to press each one of your 20 blades just like that. So I just take my finger and hold it down in the center and then bring my iron over and then press that just like that. We're going to do that for each one of our 20 blades. So nice and flat. This seam is to the side. It's not open, not this one. And when you're done, it should be nice and flat and pretty from the other side. So let's go ahead and do that for each one of our 20. I just hold it right down in the center with my thumb and press that. I'll get the next one ready. And I sort of get like a chain pressing action going on here to speed up the process. Put it right in the middle and give it a press, just like that. I might put them out of order. I'll have to recheck that before I start sewing them together. So there's our first 5, nice and flat. And this is going to take a good minute. Bringing each one over and pressing that seam right in the middle. I'll have to reorganize them. I keep wanting to jump ahead today for some reason. All right, let's redo the order these go in. There we go. Yeah, that's pretty. We're on to this set. So, what is everybody working on? You know what? When I decided to do the Dresden Plate quilt block, my intentions were not to make a whole quilt out of them, but then they were so much fun preparing for the video that I went ahead and put together a quilt. So when I realized I didn't have quite enough to do every single block as a Dresden Plate, but I came up with an alternative quilt layout behind me, and I love it. I love it. It's so pretty. And so I've been working on that. I also got a jump start on my next t-shirt quilt. So I've been working on that. All right, there's that set of 5. I have 5 more left to press. Ooh, baby quilts. Again, just making sure that that seam is right in the middle. Ooh, a bee quilt. Yay! Janice, you used poinsettia fabric and made all your blades the same. You know what? I love that too. I love it when all the blades are the same fabric. There's so many different things you can do with this block, right? So many different things you could do with it. I was showing the block to my dad the other day. He's like, you know what you could do? You could do it in yellow fabric with a brown center and it would look like a sunflower. I said, that would be beautiful. That would be beautiful. It would look just like a sunflower. All right, all 20 of my blades are pressed. There we go. I'm going to give y'all a minute because that part takes a good minute to press them all. And I'm working pretty fast. Are you going to do the t-shirt quilt as a class? Probably not, and I'll tell you my reasoning behind it. Well, one reason, it's a collage style t-shirt quilt, and I already have a couple series here on my channel that you could check out that I walk you step by step through the process. But, okay, so we leave tomorrow for Indiana for a week, and then we get back the end of next week, and then the week after that I might not be live that week either because I'm having 2 teeth cut out. So I don't know, how that's gonna be. But I am gonna be working on that quilt, so I'm pretty sure I don't want to do a live video, and I don't know if I can record it as a normal video. I don't know what I'm gonna sound like. But I can't stop working on that quilt because it is a commissioned quilt and I have to have it done by a certain day. So if I wait until I'm all good, then I'll be really pushing it to get this quilt done by the time my client's coming to pick it up. So that's the main reason why I'm not. But yeah, I do have a series all about it here on my channel that you can check out. Yeah. 2 teeth cut out. 2 more teeth cut out. Oh my glory. That's okay. So, wow, those Dresdens are so pretty. So pretty, the colors. I'm really trying not to rush. I know Mimsy's trying to keep up with me. Who else is sewing with me live today? I know several of y'all have already done this part. How many of y'all are sewing with me live and you're doing each step along with me? Because I don't want to rush and leave you behind. How many inches wide is the work area of your long arm? Let me go measure. Where's my measuring tape? Oh, my measuring tape's over there. Let's see. Where's my big ruler? Give me a second. I'll go measure it. It's about 23 inches. My throat space is 24 inches. But then, of course, keep in mind, the more you do on your quilt, it rolls up on that back roller. So then you have less and less area to actually quilt. But yeah, if I'm just loading a brand new quilt on there, I have about 23, 22 inches realistically to quilt. But then the more further along on the quilt you get, you have less and less, but it's a good size working space. Kim said, I got the blades cut. Does that count? Yeah, that counts, Kim. Valeria, you're watching and you haven't gotten your fabric yet. But yeah, so this is like a good preliminary. You'll watch through the steps, and when you get it, if you need to come back and watch it on the replay, you can, but you'll get the idea of the process. Pat's at the same place as I am. Good. Okay, good. Diana's sewing with me live today. I'm just a little ahead of you. Well, you're fast, Diana, but I'm chatting. Susan's living vicariously through the quilting work. I do that so much, Susan. I watch so many other people's videos. All right, so I'm thinking that most of y'all are caught up and waiting for me. We're going back to the sewing machine. So at this point, I like doing chain piecing, and that's one of the reasons why I've had you divide your 20 blades into groups of 4, with each one of your groups containing 5 blades. You don't have to do it this way, but sewing together our blade goes by faster when I work this way. So this may work for you, you may love it, but you might figure out a different way for sewing your blades together, and that's totally fine. Okay, so I'm going to change the screen over. I want you to see both my cutting mat and my sewing machine. Okay. When do you have time to watch other people? At night. Harlan and I get together. We have some downtime in the evenings, and we usually like binge watch Netflix or something. But if he's watching a show that I don't particularly care for, I put headphones into my phone and I watch other people's videos. At night, or when I'm working, I'll pull up people's videos and have them playing while I'm working. Because I love the background noise. It's either music or someone's video. All right, you can see my work table here. Here are my 4 groups of 5. Now I want you to look. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blades. I want you to go to the second one, and I want you to put it pretty side facing down on your very first blade, and do that for each one of your 4 groups. Just like that. And y'all, I am not pressing in between. We're going to go to the sewing machine, back and forth, back and forth. We are not pressing our seams until this blade is complete, a whole circle. Okay? So you have the second blade turned pretty side down on the first blade. We're going to work like this so that I keep everything nice and organized. I'm picking up the first group. I'm matching up the raw edges right in that middle seam that joins them. And I'm going to sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, starting at the tip side all the way to the bottom. When you first start sewing that seam, I want you to take 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then do a back stitch, 1, 2, and then finish that seam. That's going to lock that little point in place so it doesn't come unraveled, okay? I'm going to show you here. If your Dresdens are different lengths, that is okay. What's most important is that you match up these 2 points here, because we're covering this down here with a circle in the end. I want you to match those 2 pieces up just like that. Hold them together, and we're going to sew that seam. I'm going to take 2 stitches. I'm going to back stitch, and now we're going to finish that seam. It's just going to lock that right in place. And there we go. Then I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to grab my next 2. Again, we're matching these points up. We want this to be nice and pretty just like that. This blade is a little bit longer. I don't know why that happens. I don't know why that happens. That's okay though. That's getting covered up. We want these points right here to match. Lock it in place and then finish that seam. I'm using the wrong pressing foot. I'm so glad I noticed that. Give me a second, y'all. I thought it looked funny. I thought it looked funny. I wonder if it matters or not. I hope it doesn't matter. Come on, little thread. There you go. Let's just double check. Oh yeah, it's okay. Phew, I started to panic for a second. Very good point, Susan. Yes, if you start about a little bit down instead of at the tip like I am, then you won't have the little threads poking up at the tip. Good point. We're bringing in our third set. Because I'm chain piecing, I'm doing it this way. And I'm chain piecing. Here's my fourth group of 2 right here. I'm chain piecing because it really speeds up the process, and all of my groups are going to stay in order so that I don't accidentally switch them out of order. All right, there's the first seam on all 4 groups. Where's my little clippy clips? All right, I want to keep them in order, so I just removed them off the sewing machine. I'm going to snip that thread and I'm going to put them back in order right on my table, right underneath of my machine. That's going to keep everything in order. I've organized all my colors how I want them to be, and I want them to stay that way. So I know you can't see because of the shadow, but there's 1, 2, 3 all in order right here. This is our first set right up here. I'm going to open up that Dresden and I'm going to bring in the third one. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to repeat that process. We're going to match those up. I know the lighting is horrible. Match them up and sew that seam. Now we're bringing in the second set. We're going to open that up just like that. Why is the lighting so bad? Bring in the third Dresden from the second set, and we're going to attach that one. We're bringing in the third set. We're going to open those Dresden plates up. We're bringing in the third Dresden on the third set of groups. We're going to match up that raw edge and sew that seam. And then our fourth set. Coming back over here, we're bringing in this one. Matching up that raw edge and sewing that seam. I'm going to take them off the machine now and separate them, but still keep them in order. So there's the fourth, the third, the second, and the first. So everything stays in order, right? I'm just going to move these right down below. We're going to go to our first group and open up that third one. We're bringing in the fourth blade. We're going to match that seam up and just repeat the process, y'all. Just sewing, sewing, sewing. The second group. I wanted to be able to show both my mat and my sewing machine so you could see the order in which I'm taking everything over to the sewing machine. So maybe it'll make more sense. You know what I'm saying? We're on group number 3. And the group number 4. Match up that raw edge and sew that seam. Now we take them off the machine and we have one more blade to add to these groups. Keeping them in order so nothing gets turned around. Here's our first group. I'm going to open those up and bring in our last blade. Y'all, if you have any questions for me, give me just a minute. I'm going to add the last blade in each group, and then we're going to take a break. Our second set, bringing in the last blade. Our third group, bringing in the last blade. A lot of repeating the same steps over and over with the Dresden Plate block. But she's worth it, y'all. She's worth it. And our last group. I'm going to bring these off of the sewing machine and bring you over to my cutting table. I'm going to separate them. There's one thread to cut between each one. Thank you so much. Thank you. So this is where we are. Isn't that pretty? So we should have 4/4 of our Dresden plate, just like that. Aren't they so pretty? We're not pressing anything yet. They're going to look a little poofy at this stage. That's okay. That's all good. Oh, sorry, I'm putting my arm in the way. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. Y'all, it's so great to see everybody. It's so great to see everybody. Barbara said, I like poofy. I know, it's so pretty, right? I almost hate to even press that. I took a picture the other day. It was like 8 Dresden plates before I pressed them, and they were all poofy like this. I love that picture. They do look like turkey tails. Debbie, I hate that I'm working ahead of you. I'm so sorry. Work in your own time. If I get way ahead of you, just put it on, just stop and come back on the replay. I don't want you to get like stressed out trying to keep up with me. But we still have several stages to go to before we're done. So I'm just taking a short little break. Just a second. You are so welcome, Cheryl. You're welcome. So many options to choose for the yes. Yes, you could do fabrics. You could do baby fabrics, right? You could do Dresden plates with baby fabrics. You could do it with all florals or all polka dots or all stripes. That would be fun. Christmas, Easter fabrics, Halloween fabrics. So this is where we're at, y'all. Here's 4 groups of 5. So guess what we're going to do now? We're going to take this group. I'm going to try to make sure that these two aren't the same. They're not the same. I don't really mind so much if they're the same color, as long as they're different fabrics. I'm good with that. I'm going to flip this group of 5 right over on top of that group of 5. And then flip this one over on that group, and we're going to sew these 2 seams. Still using the same 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so I'm going to bring this first group over, and we're going to join this. This will be half of our Dresden plate. Still starting off with a locking stitch at the very beginning. Still lining up those little points right there in that valley. Lock them in place and finish the seam. And then bring over your second half. Sheila, I want to know that too. I watch live videos and I can never get it to work for me. How do you all get the person's name highlighted that you were replying to? How do y'all do that? Sheila wants to know. I want to know. I watch other people's lives and I try to do it. It never works for me. It never works. I'm bringing over the second half. We're going to sew this seam. Hey, Tuki. Huh? Yes.
I know you're doing something really important and busy, but I have...
Y'all, hold on one second. Hold on one second.
Relieving news.
Yeah, relieving news. Okay.
Okay, so I drove by work.
Yes.
They were open.
Yes.
But last night I messaged our support team, and they said that they had tried to call me.
Oh.
But I had checked through my phone records and I hadn't seen anything. So I emailed them back. I'm pretty sure they called my old phone number.
Oh.
They want me to work Wednesday. I told them that I'd be in Indiana from Granny.
We get back Thursday.
And that I'd be available to work Friday, any shift they want.
Okay.
I assume since she asked me to come in that I'm
You still
part of
have
the
your
team.
job.
I know you're busy. And
That's okay. I'm glad you
excited to
told
see
me
you,
because
but
I've been thinking about it.
I'm really relieved.
Yes, me too. Yay. Okay,
So
good.
that's good news.
Good. Are you heading down to take Philip now?
I already took Philip.
Oh, so you're back.
I might run to Dollar Tree though. Is there anything you need?
From the Dollar Tree?
Yeah, I want
No.
to pick up some craft stuff with some money that Dad gave me.
A Slim Jim.
You want
Here.
a Slim Jim?
Yeah, can you get 5 Slim Jims? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, that's such good news. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. Let me finish the seam and then I'll update you. All right, so we just did that seam. At this point, we have 2 halves, right? 2 halves. So that was Bethany. That's our youngest daughter, Bethany. And Bethany works at Yankee Candle, the flagship stores, right? The great big ones that have the Christmas room where it snows like every 3 or 4 minutes. They make candles there, and they've got ice cream and all the popcorn and stuff. And so she was furloughed a couple months ago because, everything shut down. So she's been furloughed and out of work for a couple of months now. Well, we drove by Yankee Candle yesterday, and we noticed that they were open, and she was so upset because they hadn't called her to come into work. She thought she lost her job permanently. But, so she drove there today to ask them about it, and evidently they tried to call her. They called her old phone number. So, yay, she still has her job. What a blessing. Oh my goodness. She's been upset about that all night. What is a Slim Jim? Hazel, a Slim Jim is like a meat stick. It's kind of like beef jerky, except it's a long stick. Like a beef jerky stick. Ah, that is relieving news. I'm glad she came in and told me. Miss Connie, you want me and Sally to do a Zoom together while we're in Indiana? We might do that. I have to finalize some plans with Miss Sally. She has the dream job. I know Yankee Candle is awesome, right? And they are really good to their employees too, y'all. They are really good to their employees. All right, so at this point we have 2 poofy halves. Just like this. Isn't that pretty? So pretty. We're going to turn this right side up, and we have 2 seams left to do to finish this plate. This seam and this seam. So we're going to do this one first. Again, we're still matching up right where those tips meet in the valley section, right? I'm going to bring this over to the sewing machine. Let's see, let's do that. You can see the whole thing. Going to match that up, raw edges together. Lock that seam in there, and then finish that seam. Then I'm going to go ahead and take this right off of the sewing machine. And while we are still right here, I'm just going to flip the whole thing right over. And now we have the last seam for this blade right there. I should have really checked out the lighting before I went live today. Again, just matching up those 2 raw edges. This is our last seam to construct our plate together. And there we go. There we go. That's a lot of sewing, isn't it? That's a lot of sewing. Let's wake the iron back up. Get it heating back up. Open up our poofy Dresden plate. I almost wish you could keep it like that. Now we're going to press it, okay? And you have all of the seams. That's what it looks like. It looks a little cray-cray, right? All the seams. At this point, we're going to press it. I'm going to let my iron warm up for just a second because she goes to sleep really fast. Yay, I'm so glad that this seems so much easier doing it this way. Again, my process of organizing the blades, you know, if you're working all the same color, all the same fabric, your blades are all the same, then you don't really have to organize them, right? You could just start sewing. Just going through, making sure I'm not missing anything. All right. Dun, dun, dun. Do you sew a scant 1/4 inch or a 1/4 inch? I'm doing mine with an exact 1/4 inch. That's what this is. It's right at a 1/4 of an inch. Dun, 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 dun. Are you starting at the point including point? Trying to realize exactly what you're asking, Miss Connie. When I'm sewing these together, I start right at the edge. Okay? When you do that, you got these little threads. I don't know if you can see that. Because I'm chain piecing mine, when I snip them apart, I've got a little thread that pokes out. Now, if that bothers you, you can just trim that off, right? You just trim the thread. But I'm starting right at the edge of this valley. See the hills and the valley. You're matching them up at the valley and sewing down from there. Nita, when someone says a scant 1/4 of an inch, here's my 1/4 of an inch ruler. The line, let's see, yeah, that's 1/2 inch. The line right in the center is exactly a 1/4 of an inch. When someone says scant 1/4 of an inch, they bump the needle over towards the right a notch or two to allow for the thickness of the material that you're working with and the thread, because all of that eats up a little bit of space in your seam, right? And if you're working with some thicker fabric, that might actually eat up some of your seam allowance. So if you bump over the needle to the right towards the raw edge a notch or two, that allows for the thickness of your fabric. And you still, and so all your pieces match up. Have you ever done a patchwork block and you used a 1/4 inch? You know that you used a 1/4 an inch and all your cutting was right, but the pieces still didn't match up exactly right. It might have been the thickness of your thread and the thickness of your fabric eating up some of your seam allowances in your pieces. All right, I think my iron is nice and heated up. I'm going to scoot this right over because I want you to see the whole Dresden plate. Y'all don't mind my messy pressing board. It's got fuzzy bits all over it. This is just a flannel pillowcase. Everything sticks to it. We're good. We're going to place that Dresden plate right down, pretty side facing down. All of our seams are up. When I press this, you want to be really careful because these are all sewn, they're all cut on the bias. See how that is stretchy a little bit? You want to be careful when you're pressing your plate that you're not really pulling and tugging on your plate and giving it an odd shape. It would be really easy to make it sort of like an oval, right? Because it's stretchy. You just want to make sure that you're not really messing with the shape of your blade. You want a nice circle. And when I press this, I'm using a dry iron. I'm going to be pressing all of these seams to one direction. I'm not pressing them all open. I'm pressing them all in one direction. Debbie, thank you so much. That is so sweet of y'all. Thank you so much, Debbie. I'm going to go ahead and just take my hand and get these seams started in that direction. I'm not really shoving the fabric. I'm just sort of giving it a little bit of a memory. This is the direction I want to go in with my seams. I'm going to take my iron and very carefully just start working those seams all in one direction. I'm slightly picking up my iron a little bit so that I'm not tugging at the shape of my plate. Pick it up, move it around, and we're just working all of those seams around in the same direction. Just like that. You might have to pick up your plate and move it just like that. Y'all are so sweet. Y'all don't have to do that. You know that, right? You don't have to do that. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate that so much. See how all the seams are going all in the same direction. And once I get them to where they're laying pretty much flat, just like that, then I'll flip it over and press from the other side. And make sure everything is nice and flat. Nice and flat. See how all of our valleys meet right there? That's why we start sewing our seams right there and match those edges up when we're piecing together our blades. Ta-da! Isn't she so pretty? She's so pretty. All right, we're just going to scoot that out of the way for just a second. So here's our plate, just like that. Now I want you to grab one charm for your center circle, and I want you to grab the circle from the PDF. You're going to trace that onto your cardboard and you're going to cut out a cardboard circle. This is what we're working with. You're also going to need a needle and some thread and a pair of scissors, okay? I'm just using some all-purpose thread. It's the AK Trading Company thread. It's my go-to thread for piecing and quilting. My Nolting loves this thread for quilting, and I use it for hand sewing. So yeah, I use it for just about everything. But you just want some kind of thread that we're going to do a little bit of hand sewing. It's not complicated. It doesn't have to be pretty, so don't get worried. And you're going to need a needle. Do you continue the same pattern? Cheryl, is that question for me or are you having conversation with someone else? I want to make sure if it's a question for me that I can help. It's a question for me. Do you continue the same pattern? You mean the Dresdens over and over and over again? Yes, if you want to make a Dresden Plate quilt, you'd repeat all of these steps to make these plates and repeat these blocks over and over again for your quilt. I'm hoping that that is what you're asking me. Sometimes I wish this was a Zoom sometimes, because sometimes I have a hard time knowing exactly how to answer someone's question. With your center circle, we're just going to lay it right in the middle of that charm, just like that. I'm going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to trim the 4 corners, just like this, in a little curvy motion. It doesn't have to be exact and pretty. I'm just really trimming the corners, just like this. All 4 of them. It's going to give us a little bit of an odd shaped circle. Just like that. These little tidbits go in Connie's pile. Then we're going to take some thread. Just a good little pinch of thread like that. We're going to thread this needle. We're going to tie a knot at the bottom of our thread. Oh, good. I'm so glad I answered your question right. Thank you, Miss Debbie. Y'all are so sweet. Thank you so much. I'm going to get this needle threaded. I'm going to tie a knot at the end of it. I'm just wrapping it around my needle a few times and then sliding that right off the edge of my needle and pulling it down to the end of my thread. What is Connie's pile? Connie, you don't see any of Connie's comments because she's watching from her TV. So she can't comment in the live chat, but she sends me messages that pop up on my screen. Connie's a member of the Creative Crew group, and we've gotten to know each other so well. Well, Connie loves the little tidbits. All the little offcuts like this, the little tidbits, I save these in a pile and I'm going to send them to Connie. Connie does all kinds of creative things with them, right? She makes her own fabric by just collaging little tidbits together, and sometimes she'll put tulle over it and then some like eyelash yarn and sequins and beads and all kinds of decorative stitches. So she uses all those little tidbits. I have a little pile off to the side that I'm sending to her. There's my little knot. I know you can't see that. It's gray thread. It's just one single thread. I'm going to take my my odd-shaped circle, coming in, starting from the inside, the non-pretty side. We're going to take the needle, we're going to go in, we're going to do a basting stitch all the way around the edge of this circle. Not really close to the edge, but about a smidgen like that far away from the edge. Just a basting stitch. And I'm just going to run my needle right around the edge of this circle. In and out, in and out, in and out. All the way around this circle. What this is going to do is give us a nice, pretty finished edge to our center circle. Okay, you could do a raw edge circle and stitch it down. I've done that on many of the Dresden plates. But this technique will give you a finished edge to your circle. Okay, so there's little stitches all the way around the edge of this circle. I'm just going to repeat this all the way around till I get back to where I started. All the way around, in and out, to the front, back to the back. Front, back. Front, back. Just poking my needle in and out. until I get back to the where I started. In and out, in and out. You can do this center circle with freezer paper too. If you have freezer paper and you want to manually turn the edges of your circle, you could do it that way too, but this is nice and fast for me, and it makes such a pretty finished circle when we're done, you're gonna see. In and out, we're almost to the beginning. My stitches are about 1/4 of an inch length in and out. Some might be a little bit closer together. That's okay, you're not going to see them. All right, I'm back to where I started. Just going to pull that thread through and open this up a little bit, just like this. It's going to look like a little ruffled edge, right? It's already starting to pull together our circle. See that? Dun, 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 like a little cup. I'm going to take this cardboard template. If it has a shiny side like ours, like mine does, put the shiny side down. You want it to be a paper side facing up. I'm going to put that shiny side of this cardboard right into that circle. Right into the circle. You might have to work with it just a little bit. There we go. You want all that little ruffled edge poking up just like that. And then we're going to take our needle that is still threaded with the same thread, and we're going to pull on that and draw that thread up just like this. A nice, pretty finished edge all the way around. And when we turn this around, look at that perfect circle. Finished edge, no raveling, right? So with it pulled up nice and tight, just going to hold that thread, and I'm going to take a couple of little lock stitches. I'm just putting my needle through a couple little bits of that fabric right there, and I'm going to tie a knot and lock that right in place. Just like that. Dun, 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 dun. And that's all we need the needle and thread for. So there's our perfect, pretty little circle. We're going to bring the iron over one more time. I'm going to go ahead with the cardboard in there. I'm going to go ahead and press that. Joyce, you've made your own template and you made 10 of them. That is so awesome. Do you cut that cardboard smaller than the template? Nope. Nope, this is a 4-inch cardboard circle. I'll show you here in just a second. I'm going to press that down on the back side and then flip it over and give it a good press. It still has the cardboard in there. And then I'm going to let that cool off. Here is my template. Where's my PDF? Here it is. 4-inch circle on the PDF. You cut that out. It's still 4 inches. Trace it out on your cardboard and then cut it out. It should be, your cardboard template should be 4 inches. And then once you've pressed it and let it cool off for a second, dun, 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 dun. Because we've pressed it, it's going to keep the memory of our seams. So now you can just reach in and grab that center circle cardboard template and pull that out of there. Now you can reuse that for your next one. And there's our center circle. I'm just going to give that one more press because we kind of ruffle it up when we pull that cardboard template out. Nice and pretty circle. Finished edge. And she's perfect, right? She's so perfect. So now we have our plate. And we have our center circle made. That's going to go right over top of that, just like that. And finish that off really nicely. Now, if you're looking at the circle and you want yours to be a little bit smaller, you could do, let's see, like a 3-inch circle. You have some leeway. See, when I lift this up, it does hang over this edge a little bit. So if you want to do a smaller circle, I think you could do a 3-inch circle if you wanted that to be smaller. This is what it looks like with a 4-inch circle. All right, y'all, we're going to put that aside because now we're going to put together a 9-patch for the background. I have 9 charms. Again, you could just do a solid piece of fabric if you want. I'm just going to lay these out. Make sure no like fabrics are side by side. Let's put that one there. Let's play with that a little bit. Yeah, that looks okay. The only downside to using the charms when I was making my other Dresden plates is that this charm gets completely covered up. So if you want to conserve your charms, if you want to use your charms to make this 9-patch, but you want to make the charms go by a little, you want to stretch them out, find some fabric that you don't like and cut a 5-inch piece for this center part of your 9-patch because your Dresden plate's going to cover that up. Right? You're going to cover it completely up. So find some fabric that you bought and now you're not crazy about it. Replace this charm with that fabric. I'm going to go ahead and go with this because this is what I have right now. But yeah, you completely cover up that center charm. At this point, we're just making a 9-patch, okay? You're going to sew together this as a 9-patch. I'm going to bring up both my cutting mat and my sewing machine. I'm still using a 1/4-inch seam allowance. I'm going to knock my stitch length back up to my normal setting though because I'm just piecing. And I'm going to knock this 9-patch out really fast. I'm not even going to press it in between my seams, okay? Because I want to move on to attaching the plate to this block. So we're going to knock it out really fast. I'm just going to bring you along with me. Sewing. I'm so glad Bethany still has her job. I hardly even slept last night worrying about it. I'm so glad. She loves that job. So we're just sewing. That's a huge machine, Vicky. It looks really big because of the angle of my camera. Although it's a decent sized sewing machine. She has like an 8-inch throat space, which is really nice. But I think with the angle of the camera, it looks a lot bigger than it is. Piecing together our 9-patch now. I'm going to leave all these connected and just go right back up to that first one and add from there. Open it up and bring in the next one. Open up the second set and bring in the next one. And the last set, open those up and bring that one in. Thank you so much, Vicky. Y'all are so nice. Thank you so much. Y'all are so sweet. Just to let you know, if you give this video a thumbs up, that also helps my channel so much, y'all. That would help me a lot if you gave this video a thumbs up. So here's my 3 rows. They have little connecting threads. I'm going to trim those. Just like that. Ooh, Diane's new machine has a 12-inch throat space. Holy moly. All right, I'm not even going to press these. I'm just going to do this. And when I get to the seams at the sewing machine, I'm going to push one in one direction and the other in the other direction so that everything lays down nice and flat when I do press it. 12-inch throat space. Holy moly. That's nice. All right, my bottom seam is facing me and that seam is facing that direction. They'll lock right in place. And then just match them up as you go down. So there's those two, and now we're going to add this 3rd row right to the bottom. Just matching up those raw edges and those 2 seams. That seam goes that way, and this seam goes that way. All right, so just like that, we've sewn together our 9 patch. We're coming right along, y'all. Coming right along. Let's get this pressed. Yeah, my machine is a Juki, and it actually came with the extension table. But I know for a lot of other machines, if it doesn't come with one, you can order them, right? I'm just going to finger press these seams the way that they need to go, just like that. And press them. Y'all, we are coming right along. Coming right along. I'm going to go ahead and press this from the other side too. Not bad for a quick 9 patch. Not bad. Yep, it's a shame that that pretty fabric right there is going to be covered up. So if you're using charms, pull out your fabric that is your least favorite and use it for your center square right in that 9 patch. Ooh, that's going to be so pretty, so pretty. So there's the 3 pieces that make up this block. I'm going to give y'all just a minute to catch up. Ooh, that's good water, good water. Okay, y'all, you know me and my glue basting. I'm going to actually glue baste my Dresden into place. Now, you don't have to do it this way. You could pin your Dresden plate to your background. I'm going to show you how I glue baste mine in place, because all that we have left to do at this point is to sew the plate to our background, right? So you could pin it in place, and let me show you how I just eyeball this, right? I kind of just eyeball this. See this little point here and point here? I kind of line it up in the center of this block. So just kind of lined up and lined up. And then I do the same exact thing with these 2 points, kind of hitting in the middle of these side blocks, right? And I'm just eyeballing it. If you want to be really exact about it, you could pull out your ruler and make sure it's exactly in the center, right? But I just kind of eyeball it using the little tips of my Dresdens to eyeball it to the center. And then I'm going to break out my Elmer's glue. You could use Elmer's school glue. It's got like a chalkboard on the front. This is Elmer's Glue All. It does wash out of your fabric the first time you wash your quilt. To me, I just love glue basting, but you don't have to do it this way. Pin everything in place, okay? With my hand. Now that I've found exactly where I want this plate to go in my block, I'm just going to sort of anchor down half of it with my hand. I'm going to flip over the other side, and I'm going to add a little bit of glue in several different areas. Not that much, Lisa. Don't squeeze the bottle so hard. Several different areas around the tips of this blade, just like this. Several little dots. Don't squeeze it really hard like I did. The glue is going to act like liquid pins, right? I'm adding a little bit of glue right on the seams, right in the center. It's going to anchor that down in place. And then I'm going to flip her back down. Just like this, little tappy tappy, nice and flat. I'm going to dry the glue with my iron. My iron is set on a cotton setting. I sometimes like to use steam because I think it dries the glue faster. That's just my thoughts on it. But you'll not be bringing any wet glue over to your sewing machine, right? We're drying the glue right now. And I didn't even put any glue very close to the edges anyway. So just like that. Now we can lift up this other side, just like that, and add a little bit of glue to hold this down. See how I'm not even really going right next to that edge anyway? And she's going to keep our Dresden plate right in place with no pins. I'm going to flip her back down. Tappy tappy, nice and flat. And then dry that side. Just drying the glue. I do think my iron Actually, y'all, this is a Black & Decker iron. I got it from Walmart. This is the second one I've had in 5 years. Because I make quilts on commission, this is my full-time job. My iron is on every single day. This purple iron has lasted about 2.5 years. I love it. But you can see I don't have the steam on, and she's putting off some steam. I think she's getting ready to go. Bye-bye. I think she's getting ready to go kaput. Because I don't have the steam on, but she's releasing a little bit of steam. But daily use for 2.5 years, being on all day long, at least 5 days a week, she is a trooper. And for the price, you really can't beat it, right? All right, so that should be good and dry. Now watch, when I lift this up, I can move my block all around, just like this, and she's not coming off. She's there, and I don't have any pins poking my fingers when I'm sewing. I'm going to go ahead and glue baste my circle right into place right now too, while we're here. Just going to try to eyeball the center. Does that look good? Maybe a smidgen over this way, that way, that way. That looks good. Again, I'm going to anchor half of it down so I don't move it. And I'm putting a little bit of glue, not really close to the edge so much, just like this, little dots and a little right in that center, and dry that side. And then we're going to lift up the other side and add a little bit of glue. Y'all, we are coming right along. We are almost done with this block. I hope you've had fun today. Even if you're not making the block, just chatting with everybody. And now we're going to dry that. And then we're done with the glue. Thank you, Kim. Right? Isn't that so pretty? I just want to thank Sally for sending me these charm packs. That was such a huge surprise when she did that. They work so well in a Dresden plate, don't they? They are so pretty together. Just making sure all that glue is nice and dry. And guess what? We can pick this up and the circle stays right in place. Ta, 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 ta. And we can bring that to the sewing machine. So before we do that, before we bring this over to the sewing machine, let's have a discussion about how you sew this down. Because y'all, there's about 1 million different ways that you could do it, 1 million different stitches that you could use. The quilt that you see right over the shoulder on my design wall, I stitched down each one of those Dresdens with a different stitch. So, and you know what? If you're standing away from it, you don't even see it because I used a thread that sort of just blends in with all the fabrics, right? One thing I will say is if you want to use the same exact stitch and you're making a quilt with Dresden plates, whatever stitch you use, write it down on a little post-it note and keep it next to your machine, because I guarantee you if you make some Dresden plates today and then you come back next week and make some more, you might forget the exact settings that you use on your machine. So write them down if you want all of your Dresdens to look identically the same. Write down the stitches that you used, the stitch width, the stitch length, so that you have that and you're not going to forget if you're going to take a long time to make a bunch of Dresden plates, right? The quilt behind me, I have used a zigzag stitch to sew down my Dresden and my center circle. I've used a blanket stitch. I used a really pretty decorative stitch that has little leaves on it. Oh, it's so pretty. I used a straight stitch and just on the inside of my blade, right close to the edge, did a straight stitch all the way around. That's what I'm going to show you today because it's the fastest, right? But yes, you can use a variety of different stitches. A satin stitch would look pretty too. This is a lot of chunks of fabric to be going through there, and a satin stitch is going to take a little bit longer because your stitches are so close together with a satin stitch. But yes, you could absolutely do it. I'm going to go with a straight stitch, okay, for this Dresden because it is the fastest, and I want to be able to finish this block with you. But that doesn't mean that's what you have to pick, right? That doesn't mean that that's what you have to do. I'm going to take this off, and that's why I had this other foot on is because it's all clear and I can see through it. I'm going to move you over to my sewing machine. We're going to bring this block right over. How many Dresdens are in the quilt behind you? Let me count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 up on the wall, and this one, you can't see it, but there's a space missing at the bottom. This one makes 8. And then I just did a simple 9 patch in the other blocks to fill in this space. So this makes 8. A slight variation from the count that I gave you for a lap size quilt because I didn't have 400 to do that. We're going to bring over our plate, our block. Let me see what I want to do. A straight stitch, and let's see, I'm going to bump up my stitch to a 3.0. That sounds good. What are you doing with earrings on the side? Ooh, remind me here in a second, Cheryl. I'll show those to you. My daughter made them. She brought them to me last night. All right, so we're just doing a simple straight stitch. I'm going close to the edge all the way around. I know you're not going to be able to see so close up, and I wish I could change that. Actually, I want to start in the valley. I'm going to start in the valley. And then we're just working our way around. All the way around. Back and forth, back and forth. Actually, I like to be a little bit closer to the edge than what I'm doing, but I'm kind of going a little bit faster than what I like to do. I like to be a little bit closer to the edge than this. Back and forth, just rotating the block as we get to each one of the peaks and the valleys. And this part's going to take a minute. You got 20 blades. Oh, that one was really close to the edge. Whoopsies. Usually I would slow down and really be a little bit more precise about this. But see, if you get a bunch of Dresden plates up to this stage, and then you just turn on some music and sit here and stitch them all down, then it doesn't actually seem like work, it's just fun. Right? All right, back to where we started. I'm going to lock that in. And then I'm going to pick a zigzag stitch for my center circle. I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to set that at a 4.0 for the width and a 2.4 for the length. And I'm just going to do a simple zigzag stitch to stitch this center circle in place. I just realized I have not even eaten lunch today. What? I haven't eaten anything today. About 3/4 of the way done. Keep going till you get back where you started. I go past where I started just a stitch or two, back stitch, and then remove that from the sewing machine. And that is our finished Dresden plate. Let me switch the camera over. That's a lot of work, y'all, for one block, right? That's a lot of work. She is one of those, she's very needy. She requires a lot of attention and details and different steps for this block, but isn't she worth it? She is so, so pretty. Look how pretty she is. I know, I have not eaten anything. I just realized I didn't even eat breakfast or nothing. These are the little earrings that Bethany made me last night. They look like Cheez-Its. They look like Cheez-Its. See that? Isn't that so cute? Y'all know me and my snacks and eating snacks and stuff. She made me some Cheez-Its because I love Cheez-Its. Little earrings. I can't wait to wear them. Robin, you are sick with COVID. Oh my goodness. We'll be praying for you. Is there a way we can get updates from you to see how you're doing? I'm just going to snip these little threads where I stopped and started. There we go. Whoa, she's so pretty. Is there a reason you could not do a straight stitch around this? Absolutely. You could do, on one of my blocks behind me, I did a straight stitch in the circle. I'm doing them all different for my quilt. But yeah, you could absolutely do a straight stitch in your circle as well. I just changed it up and did a zigzag stitch. Piper said, Dresdens are so worth it. They are, right? Look how pretty that is. So pretty. It's so great to see everybody. Thank y'all all so much for hanging out with me this Thursday. So that is what they are called, peaks and valleys. I don't know, Cheryl, if that's the technical name for them. That's what I call them because they look like little mountains and valleys, right? Peaks and valleys. That's what I call them. I don't know if that's like a technical term for them or not. What is the name of the charm packs? Ooh, I had that out. Just the, oh, here. Yes, I saved them. It's 2 different charm packs. This is going to be mirror imaged. I'm sorry, but they're by Moda. And Remembrance and Icicle Kisses. They went together really well, right? I think this is different than this. I combined 2 different kinds of charm packs to get this block. Like this was Remembrance, and this was in the Icicle Kisses, I do believe. But they kind of go together, right? So that I had enough to do the quilt behind me, I combined them to Remembrance and Icicle Kisses by Moda. Aw, y'all are so welcome. You're so welcome. It's my pleasure to show you, y'all, and I come up with ways of organizing and different steps. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's what works for you, right? But I like to show how I do it in hopes that, you know, if you've been intimidated with a block or a technique, you can see how someone else does it differently and, yeah, maybe get some tips from that. Taco salad. Oh, that sounds delicious. Phyllis, I'm so glad that this video has been helpful for you. I'm so glad. Mimsy, I'm sorry that I worked so much ahead of you. Thank you, Juliana. Yep, we're excited. We leave first thing in the morning. First thing in the morning. So yes, the Dresden, she requires lots and lots of little steps. And I kept wanting to do them out of order today. If you just now joined in, or if you're just getting here a few minutes ago, and you come back on the replay, I kind of skipped ahead and had to pedal back some steps, but that's okay. How would we quilt that? Miss Jeannie, so I've done like, I think maybe 4 total Dresden Plate quilts. It was just made with Dresden plates, right? When I quilted them, 2 of them were quilted on a sit-down machine and 2 of them were quilted with my long arm. What I do is I stitch in the ditch next to my Dresden, right? I just stitch in the ditch all the way around and anchor that down in place, and it shows up really pretty on the back side of your quilt. And then I do come in and I anchor this center down too with some quilting. Here's something that you could do, like if you wanted to wait on stitching down this center circle, maybe you just have it pinned or glue basted in place and you put together your whole quilt. When you bring your quilt over to quilt it, then at the same time you're quilting, you're stitching down your center circle with a straight stitch, and just right on the inside, I like to anchor that down too. So then this is kind of poofy, right? After you're done quilting, this is a little bit poofy, and then you have a little bit of definition with your circle. And so that's what I like to do. And then you could do any kind of quilting in your background. Or you don't have to do any. You could stitch in the ditch around your block, right? Yes, Miss Glinda, you'll have to come back on the replay. It's a little bit of a longer video. I will be putting timestamps sometime this evening in the description box, and that'll help you skip around if you want to do that. Can you make the dress and play just using 10 blades? You could, Phyllis, but you're going to cut your blades at a different size, right? There's like hundreds of variations of the Dresden plate. Go to Google and search Dresden plate with 10 blades and see what comes up. There might be a template out there, but it won't be cut exactly with these measurements. It'll be like wider at the top or the bottom, you know. But yes, I've seen Dresdens with only, let's see, 16 blades, 8 blades, lots and lots of variations. What size are the blades? The blades, there's a free print off if you want to jump down to the description box. I know that this is mirror image. It's because of my camera facing down, okay? But there's a free PDF in the description box. The blade is 2.5 inches tall, wide at the top from side to side. At the bottom, it measures 1 inch exactly at the bottom. And the blade itself is 5 inches tall. Okay, 5 inches tall. You can print this out. It's in the description box. It'll bring you over to Dropbox. You download it and print it out. I know it's been so great to see everybody today. Thank you all for sticking with me. Thanks for sticking with me during the Dresden Plate. Very, very traditional quilt block. Very, very traditional. Again, so many different variations, different sizes that you could do, different shapes. I love some of the Dresdens where they have a peak, a pointy blade, and then a curved blade. Pokey, curved. There's a name for that Dresden, and I don't recall what the name of it is, y'all. But it has a pokey and then curved. Those are so pretty. Those are so pretty. So yeah, if you do a Google search on Dresdens, just take a look at all the different variations. I'm hoping that this video here has inspired you to give it a try. How do you do corners when using double fold binding, sewing front and back at the same time? Oh, okay, I get it, Bridget, I would love to know the answer to that too. I think you're talking about putting binding on the edge of your quilt and you want to sew the front on at the same time as sewing the back, like a double folded binding. When you get to the corner, I don't know that there's a way to do a mitered corner if you're using a double folded binding. I do have some binding tutorials. It's a single folded binding. You take your binding strip and you fold it in half and press it. You sew it to the front first and then you flip it over to the back and sew it again. I will show you how to do the corners using that kind of binding, but I've never done it with a double folded binding before. Because of that reason, I don't know how you do the corners. I don't know how you do it. All right, everybody, I'm going to go fix some lunch. I cannot believe I've gone all day without eating. I'm surprised I'm not like hangry. It's been so great hanging out with you today. Remember, next week we will not be here live. It's kind of iffy about the week after that because of some teeth extraction stuff going on. But either way, I'm going to try to post a video before that. It might not be live. But I'm also kind of hoping that while we're on the road, maybe I can pop in too. I don't know. It's easier to pop in from my phone over on Facebook. So if you haven't ever joined me before and you do Facebook, go down to the description box. I have a link to Lisa Capen Quilts Facebook page. And I have a link to the Creative Crew group. Y'all, Linda's doing some videos, Quilt as you go. If you want to learn that, she's going to show you some tips over on Creative Crew group. Miss Jeannie is hosting a Zoom. Not tonight, tomorrow, I think. I might have my days mixed up. Lots of fun stuff going over there. Lots of fun stuff. And you can share your pictures and get help and ask questions, all the fun stuff. The links are in the description box. Here we go. My finished Dresden plate. She's going to go up on the bottom. She's the only block I have left to do for this quilt top. I'm going to add a couple borders and call that finished. If you want to see pictures when I do that, join me on Facebook. That's where I'm putting the pictures of this quilt when I get done. What's up for the next time? Good question, Susan. I have not planned that far in advance yet. I do have, okay, so before we go, I do have a art quilt coming up. I want to start it in August. It's going to be called Garden Archway. It's an art quilt. It's going to be about 6 foot tall, I think, and about 4 feet wide, maybe a little bit wider. It is an art quilt. Just to pique your interest a little bit, if you haven't heard anything about that, before we go, if you like paint by numbers, if you like counted cross stitch where, you know, the pattern is already on the fabric and it's got little markings for the different colors. If you like diamond painting, kind of along those lines. It's going to be kind of like paint by numbers, except we're using fabric. Paint by numbers. Thank y'all so much for praying for my mom. She's going to do great. We are super excited for her surgery. It cannot get here fast enough. Oh, Jeannie's going to do her Zoom at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to try to jump in. It depends on what we're doing. I just want to come and say hi. Yeah, it's not a mystery quilt anymore. Nope, it's not a mystery quilt. Nope. All right, y'all. Have an awesome, blessed week. I will update y'all soon, but I'm really active over on Facebook, so hopefully you can join me there. Thanks for following along with me today. Thank you for everybody who did the chat donations. Y'all are so sweet. I appreciate that so much. If you like my video, it helps me too. Thanks, everybody. Bye.